In this video, I am going to be showing you how to make those anime kind of style trees in Roblox. I'm going to get right to the point here, but I do want to say, please leave a like if you find this helpful. And I will warn you, if you don't have much experience with Blender, this might be tricky. So if you do struggle at any point, I'll link in the description a beginner tutorial for Blender. Watch that, then come back and you should be able to do the tutorial. I did a video that showcases a similar method of making trees a few months ago. So if you watch that, you're one step ahead. However, this shows a slightly different process and it gives you a completely different result. Anyway, let's get started. You're going to need Blender here. If you don't have it, you can download it. If you go here to blender.org, download Blender, and then download Blender 3.41. That's how you do it. And you want to get started here by, we're going to make the leaves first. The leaves are basically all you need to make. The trunk is so simple. You can even do it inside a studio. And if you don't know how to move, you can scroll forward and scroll backward to zoom in and out, and press down your scroll wheel and move your mouse to kind of like move around like this. And that is basically the movement we're going to be using. You can also hold shift and press down your scroll wheel to kind of pan. So if you don't know the movement, that is how the movement works. But anyway, let's get started. We're going to start by making a leaf, and our leaf is going to be made of two planes. So we want to do Shift A to add a mesh, go to mesh, and then go to plane. And as you see here, we've imported a plane. We want to rotate this, so we'll do R to rotate, X, and it'll rotate it only on the X axis, and type 90 on your keyboard, and it'll rotate it 90 degrees on the X axis. And now you see here, we have a nice little plane. Next, we're going to make sure this is selected and do Shift D, R to rotate, Z to rotate on the Z axis, and 90 again. I'll do that again for you guys who didn't see. So we'll make sure you have this plane selected, do Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate, Z to rotate on the Z axis, and 90 to make that do it 90 degrees. And then you want to make sure you have both selected, make sure one has this kind of like light orange glow. And if one doesn't have the orange glow, just click one, shift click the other, and then do Control J. And now they should be joined. I'm going to move this just to the side. So we can do G to move and X to move it on the X axis. I'll just move it somewhere over here. Now we're going to do Shift A to add a mesh. And this time we're going to add a UV sphere. So we've added a UV sphere here. That should be good. Next, we're going to go, and this is where it will get a little bit potentially laggy. So if you lag here, don't worry. You might want to save your project here. So what you want to do is you want to select your sphere. This sphere isn't going to be permanent, so you don't need to worry about the fact that there's like a bunch of vertices here. So you want to go over to this blue lines thing, which is the particles tab. Click on it, this one here, and then you want to create a new particle system. So click this little plus here, that adds a new particle system, and you get this little like grey dot here. Don't worry about that. Just go and change emitter to hair. And now you get all these lines sticking out of your object. You want a lot less. So you probably want to come down to about 10. And then you got about 10 hairs here. And the segments you want to make the lowest possible. I think 2 is the lowest. Let's see. Yeah, 2 is the lowest. And hair length, go down to something like about half a meter. Half a meter should be good. Now what you want to do is you want to go over here to the render option. Then go to where it says render as and change path to object. And then just come down here to instance object. Click on the little dropper tool and then click on your leaf. As you see here, this now basically makes it so that randomly on your model, it spawns this little leaf thing. It spawns this little leaf thing all over your model. Of course, you can have more if you want. Basically, the number is how many there are. So I want 10. And you'll see why here. And basically, what you want to do now, we've got 10 of them. We're literally just going to go to scale here and buff the scale right up. You want the scale maybe something about there. That might be a bit high. Maybe something about 1.5. 1.5 should be good. And then once you've got the scale to about 1.5, scale down. So make sure you have the sphere selected. Scale down the sphere slowly. And when they start to all kind of like come into a mush, you want to then stop scaling, and that should be good. And that is it done. Of course, we're going to need to do the texture, but I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And I will also provide a texture for those of you who would just rather use mine. Okay, so what I have here is a square canvas, and I am using Photoshop. However, it doesn't matter if you don't want to use Photoshop. You can always use a different software. Now, basically, what you want to do is you want to just make a squiggle. So you want to delete the background layer and make a new like drawing layer. So you want to be drawing on a transparent layer with no background here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of like draw out some squiggles in a way. So we're going to draw out some squiggles a bit like this and kind of like make a kind of shape sort of thing. You want it to be quite dense in the middle, but also you want there to be bits where it's not as dense. It's quite important to have a good mix, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Of course, I'll be linking this in the description, so if you do want to get this, I'll show you where to go just once I finished it. Okay, so we've got something like this here. We're now going to go through the rubber, actually. We're going to go through the rubber a bit and remove some because I know that there's a little bit too much here, especially around the edges. I kind of want to keep that more circular look to the whole thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to filter and distort, then wave. We're going to play around with the settings here and kind of like see what gives us the best look that what we're going for. So I'm going to go here and just play around with these settings and see what can, what can help us in getting the best effect. I think something like this looks good. I think that looks good. And yeah, that's that. I'm going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to kind of blur it very subtly. So not much, something like that. I'm going to blur it, and there we go. We're now going to save this to our files and put it in Blender. Okay, now if you just want to get the texture that I made, you can go over to the resources channel on my Discord server. This server's linked in the description. Go to resources, which is just here, and then basically this isn't it. This isn't this top one. This one's for another tutorial I did. I'm gonna do another post here. I'll make it right now. There you go. Anime leaf texture. Use this one for the anime trees. Yeah, let's get back to the video. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to go to our leaf here that's on the left. Go to the little material ball here, this little tab here, material properties. Then click on new. This creates a new material. We can rename this if we want, leaf material. And then we're going to go to where it says base color. Click the little yellow dot. Go to image texture, and then we can do open. Now find in your files where you saved it and make sure it works. So see, I've uploaded it and it looks really cool. If you haven't got this on so you can like preview the materials, your Blender by default probably looks like this. So you probably can't see it. If you want to change this, just come up here to the top right corner where you've got all these different like view modes. Click the little down arrow, go to flat, change material to texture. Then turn on cavity and shadow, make sure this is on both, and just kind of copy these settings, and your Blender will just look so much better. And hopefully that is the kind of look you were going for. We're now going to go through and make the rest of the tree. So I'll show you how that's done. So once you're happy with how these leaves look and all the scale and stuff's good, you can go over to the modifiers tab, go over here and then do make instances real. And this will basically put into your collection all of the stuff, and it should work. So you want to now do, with this all selected, do not deselect, just do G and X to move it along. And as you see, it's over here now. Just then go and shift click on one of them, the whole shift whilst clicking, and then do Control J. And as you see now, we have a leaf done. I don't know what on earth has happened here. We're going to delete these two. These two are a mess. Delete, and then we just bring this one along here. So we've got here a leaf. It's pretty nice. You can hide this up here. I'm going to double click on this and name it leaf, and then hide it. Now I'm going to make the trunk. I'm just going to do a square kind of trunk. So I'm going to do Shift A, mesh, add a plane, go into edit mode with tab, and then do delete, and then collapse edges and faces. And what that's done is it's basically made this all into one single vert. Now I'm going to do 1 on my number pad to go into front view. If you don't have a number pad, you can always use it up here in the top corner. You can kind of like click on the little letters here. So I'm going to do -Y. And now we're just going to press E and kind of like draw out a tree trunk shape. So we're going to do something like that, that, and that. And we can always do some different, like mess around with it a bit and go in different directions. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go out of edit mode with tab again, and then go click on the modifiers tab, add modifier, and then we are going to add a skin modifier. As you see here, it's a bit chunky. Go back into edit mode with tab, go Z to go into wireframe mode, or you can use the little switcher up here, and then press A and then do Control A. And Control A will basically scale this thing down, and it's so good. And now we can also then, if you don't want to do everything, you can just select like a few of them and then do Control A on them and kind of like shrink the edges. And there you go. You kind of have a tree trunk sort of thing. You may also want to do something on like the joint here to kind of like make it, a little less obvious. Let's go like that. Because sometimes the joints are a bit buggy. But anyway, there we go. That looks pretty good here. And what you might want to do now is, you might want to add your leaves. You can do this inside the studio, but you can add your leaves here. And it should look, so it'll start to look pretty good. Depends how many leaves you want. You might want a bushy tree, something like that. Might be what you fancy. So yeah, that is it. And I'm now going to show you how to get this into Roblox. So I just delete these and put this back in the middle somewhere. I'm going to go quickly name this thing trunk. And now we're going to export these. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go click on the trunk, File, Export, FBX. Make sure that you turn on Limit to Selected Objects, and then type here trunk. There we go, trunk. Then you want to come over to the leaves, select them, go File, Export FBX again. I'm going to call them leaves and make sure limited to selected objects on again, Export FBX. There we go. So we've got them exported now. We can head over to Roblox Studio. And now we're going to go over to Workspace, where it says Workspace. Click the little plus and type Mesh. Oh, typed it wrong. Mesh. There we go, Mesh part. And this should add... Where's the Mesh part? Mesh part is here. So this is our Mesh part. And we're going to go over to the properties on the right here. Go to Mesh ID. Click on the little folder thing. And now find in the files where you saved your trunk. So double click on that file. And it says the mesh importing is very large. You can say yes, you want to rescale. It contains location data. Just no, doesn't really matter that much. And you should see here, your trunk spawns in. So as you see here, we've got a trunk and that is what we wanted. And then what we're going to do is we are going to do the same here. Add a new mesh part. So mesh part. And it adds one here and we do the same thing. Click the file, click on your leaves, and then again do yes and no. And there we go. That should add your leaves in here. And yes, you will have problems here. As you see, my leaf texture isn't working right now. My leaf texture isn't working. However, we will find a way. We'll find a way. I'm going to show you now. So what we want to do here is we want to go to the properties of this mesh, go to texture ID and copy this texture ID because we still want to have this texture. It should still work. So now what you want to do is you want to go over to the little plus button on the mesh part. Go to surface appearance, or you can type surface appearance. And there you go, add it. And there you go. You see in the surface appearance, you can now add a color map, metalness map, normal map, or roughness map. We want to add a color map. So the number we just pasted from the mesh here, you want to paste into the color map, right? So you paste it into the color map. And now, as you see, we've got the kind of like leaf image texture on here. And then you want to change in the surface appearance, overlay to transparent. And that is what we want. That is literally what the look is we are trying to achieve. And now you could try and do some other properties if you want. Like you can always try in the mesh part, change it from plastic to something like perhaps neon is what you want. Doesn't look much different, but different materials in Roblox have different values in terms of reflectance, you know, the roughness and stuff. So I think a good one is actually force field, and as you see here, it kind of gives you that really like cool cartoon look. However, you might want to keep it as it is here, so you can always, you know, duplicate a few and test all the different materials and how you want it to look. So what I did here was I just turned on double-sided and did force fields. This one's force field with double-sided, and now you can come here and you can add your leaves to the tree and scale. You know, if I want to scale them down, I can, and I can also just color this trunk because I didn't add a texture to it. I just could do it here with Roblox, and we can very easily now go and duplicate these leaves and place them all over our tree. I really hope this video helped. If you did, don't forget, hit the like button, and if you want to learn how to make a super cool chest, click the video on screen now, and that video will teach you how to make a super cool chest. See you in the next video. Bye.